From Unity of Houston, Texas, this is the Awakened Life with Reverend Howard Caesar. Unity is a non-denominational spiritual community providing a positive, practical, and progressive approach to Christianity. Let's join the service in progress now with Reverend Howard Caesar.
There was a plane load of clergymen that were, and maybe clergywomen, that were coming from a religious convocation in Honolulu. And so they were in their flight, and it was in a 4-engined plane, and they had a lot of people in there, I guess, and they were reaching beyond the point of no return, headed back. And all of a sudden, an engine went out. And so, there were 8 bishops on board, and so the flight attendant went up and down the aisle reassuring everyone that would be okay, because they all knew this engine had gone out. And one of the bishops said, just everything's fine here, no need to worry, we're blessing the situation, there's 8 of us bishops on board. And the flight attendant said, oh, well, that's nice, I'll inform the captain. And so she went and informed the captain and came back up the aisle, and that same minister said, so what did he say? And she said, he'd rather have 4 good engines. So much for blessing that situation, right? Well, down through the ages of religion, people have spoken of blessings and the blessings of God. And it's the belief that God blesses us in various ways and bestows God's good upon us. You all believe that, don't you? And it can be prosperity, it can be health and healing, it can be love and happiness, it can be some needs being answered, it can be answered prayer, it can be whatever it is you describe that would be really a blessing that's coming into your life. And of course, the old paradigm of our concept of God was that God was separate and apart, off somewhere, kind of sitting in a throne, determining who would be blessed and who wouldn't. And if you were good, you got blessed, and if you weren't good, you probably were punished. And that was kind of the concept. And then, of course, the new concept, or the more evolved concept, or the deeper understanding of God, is that God is a presence and a power whose nature is love and goodness, consistent, an everlasting love. And that good is always there, always flowing. This is all that God is good. In fact, we'd like to say God is good all the time, right? And do we believe that? Do we know that? Yes. Yet things happen that we would describe as less than good. Is that not true? We do. As humans, we see things, something would be better than this, but yet we have learned to say, let's look for a blessing in it. Or how can I be a blessing in this difficult situation? And so it's important to realize and become aware that there is this everywhere present Spirit whose nature is to help, to assist, to empower, to uplift, to heal, to renew. It's something that we are to deepen our relationship with and our understanding of, that there are laws and principles at work by which we can access and enter into a deeper willingness to connect with the spiritual forces that open us up to even the realization that we are being blessed all the time, more awake and aware of all the blessings that are coming into our lives. And basically, the blessings begin to flow even more intensely because we're all the more aware. We're looking for them, we're knowing. And where our focus goes, energy flows, and we create more of that experience. And so there are tangible and intangible blessings that come into our world. Tangible things that are physical can be possessions and blessings of that nature, desires that are fulfilled, what have you, physical health and well-being. But then there are the intangibles as well that allow you to experience the blessings of a deeper joy and peacefulness and love and these different dimensions which help us feel a connectedness with the divine. There is in Genesis 12, actually I think it's verse 2, there is a line where God is speaking to Abraham, and you have to understand that when God speaks to someone in the Bible, he's speaking to you and me. So this is not just a conversation with Abraham, okay? So when you read that, metaphysically it means, gosh, this is what God is saying to me. Said it to Abraham, but he's saying it to me now through this passage that I'm reading. And so what did he say? The words were, I will bless you. He said to Abraham, I will bless you. and make your name great. Well, what's your name? Well, actually, biblically, when they used the word name, it referred to one's nature, one's essence, one's inner truth, one's divine character, the intangible dimension. And so it's bringing your consciousness into the realm of greatness. You experience all the great multitude of blessings and awareness of life beyond what others perhaps are asleep and unawakened to. The word bless or blessing actually is used throughout the scriptures, and I want to look at that a little bit today. You know, it's a common word, you know, and it's to know, indeed, I am so blessed, and I am a blessing. At all times, every day, I have the opportunity to recognize and have the awareness that I am so blessed, and to acknowledge the ways in which I am blessed, and then to be given and shown ways in which I can be a blessing. It's a huge part of life and living. And so the word bless, actually, from the dictionary, means, bless or blessings both really, mean to make holy. So that at any moment you find yourself in, you can make that moment holy. You can be a blessing. You can bring your light. You can bring an awareness of who you are in that moment. There's something bigger. People can be going through something, and you can make a difference. To bless means also to ask divine favor for. I really would like this soul to be blessed. I'm asking divine favor to help this person as they enter this new job or head off to school or whatever it might be. It also means to wish well. You know, I wish well for this person. I bless them. It means to endow with. You know, I bless this person with a deepening awareness of the love that they truly are, the strength that lives within them. I bless them with it. That's a powerful thing. You have the power to bless, to know a truth for another. There's an energy that emits from you to them. I want you to realize that. The impact that you can have and have had in many ways, and just to reflect on that a bit. It means to make happy, to bless. Oh, just to bring some happiness and a joy into another person's life. You've blessed them, you know, and people have blessed us with happiness too. It means to praise, you know. Gosh, you know, most all of us have had times or moments when we have felt blessed. And it's a kind of gratitude that we can feel. There's a scripture verse in Nehemiah, and it states this: "Stand up and bless the Lord your God forever and ever." Stand up and bless the Lord your God forever and ever. Now, what does that mean? It means that, you know, I've been to India a number of times, and one of the things that they got across to me that was beautiful, you know, we know that God is spirit and this invisible presence that is everywhere with us, but they also said it's helpful to mold your God in the way of a deep, precious friend. And to think of whoever it is in this life that is so dear to you, so special, you're so close to, and to mold God in that relationship so that you can share anything with that being as though that person is with you all the time, that there's something powerful. Well, God likes to, as a human being, or that human kind of distinction that we're talking about, be praised. Who doesn't, you know? It's like it brings out for you, as you praise, it brings out a sense of the blessings that God is by praising, and therefore opens you up to new doors and windows of being blessed. And so I love that. I love that verse. Stand up and bless the Lord your God forever and ever. Because the more that you bless and praise God is in the trees, in the wind in your face, it's the sun that's shining and warming you, in the healing that comes on in the next day or two when you're facing a healing need or whatever it is. That praising and acknowledging of God is to go on forever and ever because it deepens your relationship and connects you in that element of oneness that we always are. So it's a sense of giving thanks. And so, you know, there's a story about two horses. And I don't know if we have any horse lovers here, but horses are creations of God. We all love horses, do we not? Okay, we're not all riders of them, but I know horse lovers. Anyway, this is an interesting story about two that were in a field up the road from where a person was living. And from a distance, they looked like any other horses, of course. But if you got close to them, you saw that one of those horses actually was blind. And the owner had chosen not to put the horse down, but wanted to make the horse a home where it could be comfortable and live it out. And so what was interesting, or kind of amazing, was how the horse was managing its life and getting along. And so if you were able to be nearby or close to where they were, you would hear that there was the sound of a little bell that was ringing. And when you looked around to see where it was coming from, you realized that the smaller horse, the female horse there, it was attached to its halter. And it had a small bell on its halter. And it was letting the blind horse know where its friend was. And that horse was kind of looking after the blind one. It was just a little female, and the larger male would always be looking for or listening for the bell. And the one that had sight and was carrying the bell would always look around and check and would go a ways and then look back and make sure it was coming to graze where it knew the grass was. And it was a beautiful thing, and there was a trust there. And even at the end of the day, when the female was going with the bell, it would stop and pause as it was heading back to the barn for the end of the day, and just make sure that the other blind one was able to catch up and keep up. And there was that wonderful connection that went on. Well, perhaps there have been times in your life where you've been kind of the blind horse, where somebody was blessing you in some way, guiding you, steering you, helping you, helped you find your way through something. Or maybe there was a time where you were the one that was wearing the bell. And in a sense, you were just being a presence, looking after, looking back, helping, whether it was a child, a grandchild, a friend, whatever. And just being a blessing in that way. It's a beautiful thing to see that animals understand, and it is natural to them to do. You know, it's heartwarming. It's a beautiful thing. In Deuteronomy, there's a verse which says, "I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life." So, I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Life is blessing. Cursing is death. In other words, you kill the spirit in yourself if you're cursing what is, if you're cursing the circumstances that you're being faced with, if the difficulties that you face, if you're just tied up in knots and you're angry and upset, as opposed to looking for the blessing, trying to be a blessing, and blessing your way through the situation. That way you're given life. You know, it's a powerful thing, and even Jesus talks and speaks to this on the Sermon on the Mount, you know, when he says, "I say to you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good for them that hate you, pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." Life, choose life, because you'll always be encountering situations. You're in a three-dimensional world. It's a world in which there are people that are all different levels of consciousness. They say and do things that are not in alignment with the highest and best, but you're going to have to deal with it. And are you going to curse it and bring on the darkness for yourself, or are you going to somehow bless it? Are you going to be a difference maker? You're going to go into a dark setting and be the light, be a blessing. It's like being aware at all times who you are and the role you can play in this life and in this world and in a family or a workplace or anywhere that God puts you, because you're always there by divine appointment. You always have the opportunity to be a blessing and at the same time notice how you are being blessed. It just is the way it is. Now, there are people that get into going blind. They become blind to all the blessings because they become so locked onto what's not happening, what's not working, what's gone wrong. We have had a person at the first service that said, "Oh, did I need this? I was so into that kind of cursing element. I'm a floodie," she said. "I'm a floodie," meaning her home was flooded again this year. Flooded last year, just got the house all put back together, flooded again. She was all smiles going through the line. Shifted. Just shifted. Yeah, I'm more than that. I'm bigger than that. Yeah, it's tough, but I'm choosing life. I'm going to choose to see all the other blessings that exist, and I'm going to move through this. It's a very powerful thing. I remember there was a guy in a congregation who, a member, and this was some years ago, he shared that he had the misfortune of somebody breaking into his apartment, and he happened to be there. There was actually like 3 guys. And so they hit him with the end of the butt of a gun, knocked some teeth out. He went unconscious. While he was unconscious, they took all his valuables. All his valuables. And he spoke with me like only a week or 2 later, telling me about this. And there was no angst, no hatred, no cursing, no gnarliness. He was really saying, I bless the situation. I bless the fact that I lived through it, lost a couple teeth, but that can be mended. He said, I want to bless it so I can get on with my life, as opposed to hanging on to it and just rolling in it forever. He knew and understood that in order for life to bless me, I need to move beyond this. It's over with. I need to go on to creating some blessings. Things happen, And so when we've been hurt, the key to healing is basically in the form of prayer, and it's just being able to release, finding a way to release. Jesus said if you are offering a prayer at the altar or a gift and you remember that you have something against your brother, leave. Don't even bother continuing to the altar, because you're not in the right state to have your prayers answered and your prayers blessed. That essentially, if you become aware that there's a break in your energies having to do with something that has unresolved in you, get that healed, get that resolved, get yourself beyond that, and then return back and offer your gift, your blessing at the altar. It's the importance of your emotional state when you enter into prayer, that basically in many ways we are called upon to suspend our judgments, that we have about people, about situations. There is that something that has been sometimes referred to as the neutral state. Deepak Chopra, I think, made this line quite well known. He quoted the Sufi poet Rumi, in which he said, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there." You want to meet me there? Because in the world in which we live, we can be locked into they're getting it right and they're getting it wrong. I'm going to judge them, be separate and apart, and we can get into kind of a consistency of that judgment. They got it wrong, they got it wrong, they've got it wrong. And then we're no longer a blessing. It's not about finding what's wrong and who's wrong. It's about being a light, being who you're called to be, and being in that field of energy where you really want to go meet, and where you are beyond judgment, where you are beyond separation, beyond duality, beyond all of those kinds of things. Many times we can bury the emotion that we have carried with us as a result of some pain of our past. And we bury it in our body. It's actually there until we resolve and let go of it. And, there's a story about the minister who I succeeded, and some of you knew him, J. Sig Paulson, beautiful soul. And he shared this story with me, including the person who was with him. But Sig towards the end of his time here, had an ankle that had swelled up and was somewhat painful. And it was related to an injury that he had in his youth. And he had hurt his ankle in some way or another, and his father was there, and his father was not at all compassionate. And I can't remember what the details were around it, but it was like an issue between, it was kind of a difficult emotional response that he got from his father and whatever with that ankle and the injury at the time. And so anyway, when they went to somewhere in Mexico where there was a physician, healer, and I'm sorry I don't have all the details, but I do remember that this healer physician said that the ankle and the pain that you're having now in it is related to something out of your past. And then he told him that it was about an injury he had as a youth, his father was there, and a couple of things. Anyway, he gave them some kind of injection into the ankle and said, this will bring all the pain, emotional pain up. And I remember Sig saying it was the darndest thing, so I got this shot of something. And he said, the next thing I know, I was sobbing. All the pain around that I had harbored and held in around something having to do with his father and him. And the fellow he went with was a good friend of mine who had traveled to somewhere in Mexico for this. And this was years ago in the 1970s, okay? And he said, yeah, I was there, I saw it happen. And it's pretty amazing. But it's nothing new. You know, that's a well-known thing about how we can store things in our physical body that basically become the curse as opposed to the blessing. And we want to get beyond the dark and bring the light. And the light is back to blessing that situation in every way that you can, whatever it may be. And basically, you know that you have forgiven and you're able to forgive if you're able to bless the situation or the person that is in question. If you can't bring yourself to really wholeheartedly bless the situation that you have carried that was difficult, or the people or persons that were involved, if you can't feel like, I want to bless them, I want good for them, then you still have some layers of forgiveness to do. Those are insights that we have, you know. Blessing, I love some of the work of Greg Braden in his writings. He says blessings and blessing others is basically the lubricant that frees buried emotions to just be a blessing. And so, choose life, choose life. There's a story in Genesis, of course, about Jacob, and he wrestles with an angel. And Jacob says, I will not let you go until you bless me. And so that wrestling with an angel simply symbolizes the idea that there was something his soul wanted to get beyond, that there was a resistance going on inside of him. He was trying to get to love, and he was wrestling with this. He wasn't wrestling against the angel. The angel was trying to bring the gift and bless him, but there was this human side of him that was in resistance to it because he had an issue in which he was at odds with his brother Esau. And finally, by morn, he received the blessing. He got past the issue, and now he was able to go meet and have an exchange with his brother Esau. And there was this loving exchange. It's a beautiful story. But it's like, how many of us have wrestled with an angel that has come into our heart and wants to take us beyond an issue and the way that we have framed something, or the way we have held a person or a situation, and wants to bless us, you know? What's happening all the time, and for those of us who are aware and awake and seek to be conscious and ask the right questions within, we can come to the realization of, you know, why am I not able to bless that or them? And getting to the place where you can release and let go. Because at the point at which you're able to bless them, the whole universe comes pouring on in another dimension of ways to bless you. It's a very, very powerful thing. You know, and I'll tell you, look at what it is in your life, all the ways in which, and places where you can direct a sense of being a blessing, or just bless this, bless that, bless that. It's like getting up every morning with the intention to consciously know, I'm going to be a blessing in this person's life, my coworker, this family member, this one. I'm going to do this and this. And how good that will feel, and how satisfying. And then watch to see all the ways in which your awareness takes on the infinite magnitude of more blessings flowing in. Sit down from time to time and just think about all the ways that you have been blessed. Okay? That's again back to that Nehemiah quote. Forever and ever, again and again, consistently praise and give thanks for all the good that has flowed, even the challenges that you've learned from. And so there are places to direct and notice where we can't direct and bless. Who's the politician you can't bless right now? Who's the worker alongside of you, or in your office or place of work that you can't bless? You know, who is the ex-spouse that you're not able to bless? What is the country that you're not able to bless? Are you able to bless the planet as a whole? When the sirens sound and police and ambulance are headed there, are you able to bless that situation? Do you stop and pause? I know people do that. They stop and pause and bless whoever is involved, wherever they're headed, to help bless that situation. It's a very powerful thing. Sending a kind note, an email, blessing another. It's a great gift. It takes people into their heart. You know, and we'll be taking an offering here today. That's a blessing. You know, you are a vehicle through which the universe is pouring its good. You've been blessed so that you are able to bless. That's what an offering is. That's what a donation is. Whether it's here or anywhere, that's what it is. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It doesn't cost a dime to send a blessing. It is your innate nature. You are a blessing. That's who you are. You're so precious and so wonderful, and you don't know it. You have the impetus and the availability and the capacity to be such a blessing in this world, and are and have been, and maybe haven't acknowledged it, and yet there's so many other ways. So just love yourself and accept the blessing that you are. You know, Mother Teresa, I'm going to share, she said, spread love everywhere you go. She's talking about blessing. First of all, in your own house, give love to your children, to your wife or husband, to a next-door neighbor. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile, kindness in your warm greeting. Let the bell ring. Maybe you can't hear it, but it's another blessing being given. Let the bells of blessing ring true and everywhere for you and through you. God bless you.
When you visit Unity of Houston, you'll find a spiritual community, a church where you can connect and learn and grow with a progressive approach to Christianity. At Unity, we welcome you no matter what your beliefs. You'll find a teaching, loving, inspiring experience as we help each other be all we're created to be. Check us out. We'd love to have you. Find us online at unityhouston.org, and remember, life is meant to be good.
Thank you for joining us for today's message. We invite you to be with us again next Sunday. Unity is inclusive, welcoming people of all walks of life in dignity and love. We believe that love, strength, and goodness dwells within you. May we all live in unity with God, humanity, and all of God's creation. And remember, as Reverend Caesar says, life is meant to be good.